Welcome viewers to RMC's webinar series Lead Kindly. Today we are going to be hosting Mr. Paddy Iyer, the Executive Director and co-founder of Daily Bowl. For viewers who may not know, Daily Bowl is a nonprofit organization that is dedicated towards recovering edible produce and distributing it to families in need. RMC has actually partnered with Daily Bowl, and we have seen how dedicated and passionate Mr. Paddy Iyer is in running this nonprofit. So thank you for taking the busy schedule out of your time to join us on this webinar. To start off, can you tell us a bit about yourself, like what your background was before you founded Daily Bowl?
Sure. Uh, Good afternoon, everybody. As Akritika so kindly mentioned, my name is Paddy Iyer. I'm the executive director and the co-founder of Daily Bowl. It's pretty interesting to ask about what my background was. Well, anyway, um, I had a previous business, a previous retail business, and successful retail business for the last 12 years, for at least 12 years. And that in one way led me to found Daily Bow.
Mm-hmm. How, did you bring any of your experience from the business? Like, what do you think would have helped you? In...
Sure. Yeah, I mean, the reason I said in one way it helped me found Daily Bowl is the retail business. We had, at the end of the day, we would have a lot of food remaining from distributors. And so we would just feed it to the local, the homeless people or people, just walking in through. Hey, do you need some of the food? And everything is going excess and stuff. And that kind of just led me to thinking, if that business can generate that much of waste, what about the other businesses and stuff? And so we started volunteering at food pantries, trying to see what can be done and everything. And that's how Daily Bowl, in a way, got its start.
And I see. So was it kind of like a aha moment, like when you realized?
Aha moment is like the light bulb right on my head right now. Yes, it is. The aha moment really was, when, as I mentioned, so we would give the food away at the end of the day, but also when we started volunteering at food pantries, we we noticed the look. This is the Bay Area, right? It's a microsome of all the cultures within the world, right? It's a perfect hodgepodge. So you never know what the dietary requirements are for the next person, or it varies from person to person. And as we volunteering at the food pantry line, we noticed just this cornucopia or the rainbow of a demographic that comes in, and then you start talking to them and you realize there's cultural sensitivities and the cultural needs of food. And whereas what we were offering was kind of a stock produce and stock food. And that's when really was an aha moment. It's like, if I can help this ethnicity or this culture with the food that's coming in, or if I can go get excess food that's being wasted out there to help this culture, I think we're doing a job there.
Ah, I see. So if in, I mean, obviously in distributing food like that, with different restrictions and like based on ethnicity and demographics, there would have been challenges, right? When you first started, Daily Bowl, were there any challenges you faced in, knowing how to do that?
There's challenges every day. There's challenges every moment. When we first started, it is like, you want to start off something good, but you just don't know if what you're doing is the right thing. Okay. You just know that there's excess food around. You just know there's excess produce around, but do people actually need it? Or, let's say if I use the hypothetical example of Aramse as a receiving agency, can Aramse use all these products that I get? So it took us a long time to map needs and the haves. So there's the excess of certain stuff. Can an agency use that excess? So it took us a lot of time to map, but we've been able to map it successfully. And we at the end of the day, we have actually distributed almost everything that we have recovered, so we don't have any surplus remaining.
So, if, when you're distributing food, could you take us through the process of how you're able to connect receiving agencies to like the people who will actually receive the food, like to the
Sh-
food banks?
Sure. The one thing that I need to make clear at the onset, we do not work directly with the families or the individuals that actually need the food, because they might need some other services as well. And we are not geared up to provide the wraparound service, nor do we really want to provide the wraparound service because we're not educated enough to provide what they need. What we do know is food rescue. What we do know is that this food waste is a very critical issue. And if we can solve food waste, we are solving a need on the other end. So we work with receiving agencies, and our agencies actually span ethnicities and culture. So we work with Latino food pantries, or we work with the Gurudwara, or we work with the mosques, or we work with the churches. We work with food pantries. So what we do is we find out what they need, and so let's say, for example, today I went and picked up bananas and a lot of leafy greens, and there was some proteins like chicken and stuff like that. um, we know where it can be distributed, right? So we worked with some of the agencies and said, look, we have these bananas, or we have these leafy greens, and they're perfectly good, but I know you can't use the chicken in your site, so the chicken is going to somebody else. So that's how we kind of did the distribution map. Sometimes we get a lot of vegan products, or we get a lot of vegetarian products, and most of the people won't take it because it's vegetarian or vegan. But we do work with agencies in Berkeley and Oakland and other places that cater to that kind of a requirement, and we help them out with that.
I see. For a lot of the produce you're talking about, those seem like produce which could expire pretty fast since they're fresh produce. So, how would you um store your food before distributing
We
it?
don't store any food. We are completely mobile. We are completely the mobile entity. We pick up and we drop off, right? So there's two requirements here. Wherever we drop off, they need to have a commercial refrigeration on site to store it properly. Okay, and we ensure that by the time we pick up and we drop off, it's not more than half an hour. So we have mapped the agency to the donor connection as well. So we don't spend a lot of time sitting in traffic with just maybe one truckload of stuff. Also, what happens is when you're talking about the expiration and stuff, leafy greens can last well if they're stored properly in refrigerations.
Mm-hmm.
Canned items canned items are canned items, right? Frozen items can be stored well if the temperature controls are maintained. Um, there are obviously some blemishes when we pick up. So let's say in a whole case of the tomatoes, maybe one or two will be bad. So the agency sorts through that and stores it properly.
I see. So, does your organization only pick up fresh produce, or do you also take canned and packaged foods or food prepared by people?
Food prepared by people, no.
Okay.
No, we operate in complete compliance with the local environmental health departments. So, if you were to have the party at your house, because it's your birthday or your anniversary or whatever, and you invite 300 people, and only 50 people show up, we cannot come to your house and pick up that because it's a house entity. The food is not, or if you cook at home, we don't know the controls and everything. But we work with institutional kitchens. So let's say your restaurant where you ordered from, we could go to that restaurant and pick up. Okay, because we know it's proper health, and it's compliant with the health department. We also take canned items and everything from distributors and grocery stores and stuff. But we can't take canned items from your house. So we work with generators and distributors. Individual households, we request that they kindly work with their local places of worship and stuff like that, see if it can be used, okay, or to just compost it. Um, the the reason for that is because, as I mentioned before, we cannot, or uh, we aren't sure about the storage facility in your individual household, right? It may be out of the temperature control or whatever. It may be 10-year-old cans. I mean, we have received cans that were 10 years old, and people think it's good to donate, but sorry, we really can't. Okay, so
Mhm. So if people were to contribute towards Daily Bowl, would it have to be like via a restaurant or via a receiving agency since you can't take directly from the household?
yes. The people want to donate to us. What is really happening is they are spreading our mission, right? So let's say you shop at a grocery store or something like that, or you go to a restaurant, or you go to a catering event, and you notice all these excesses. You could talk to the owner or the manager of that establishment and say, hey, you're having food waste. Are you working with a company to receive the excess food? Now what is happening, they're not necessarily mentioning Daily Bowl, but they're mentioning the fact, the philosophy, there is food waste, and they're trying to address that food waste. So in effect, they are spreading our mission. They may not be directly involved with Daily Bowl, but the whole idea is solving food waste. Solving food waste and ensuring that excess food goes to a proper table that needs to be fed.
I see. Yeah, I've heard of other organizations like with when it comes to like vegetables, for example, like when they're vegetables which are deformed in grocery stores, so typically no one picks them up, so
Yeah.
like those are left to waste.
Hmm.
I found this to be a pretty different concept because usually you see that more in grocery stores. In restaurants, no one knows what happens with leftovers and those kind of things. So how do you think how has COVID impacted how you operate?
Oh boy, COVID has impacted. But to answer or to go back a few seconds ago about the statement about the produce that is blemished or imperfect, right? We actually work with blemished and imperfect produce, right? It's to give an example of what is a blemished or an imperfect produce for your listeners. um, the hypothetical example could be, you expect a tomato to be really firm, right, when you go to the grocery store, or it should be really round, but you find this tomato that's a little squishy, and it's not perfectly round, so you tend to reject it at the grocery store. At the grocery store, because it's not moving, tend to throw it, but it's still perfectly edible. You can make a salsa out of it, or you can make a chutney out of it, and there are families who can receive it. So that's the philosophy there. In terms of COVID, how COVID has impacted us, actually, COVID has been really good for us, which is a very funny thing to say. The reason I'm saying COVID has been really good to us is because suddenly, um, you had this glut of the inventory from the donors, from the farms, from the farmers, and they didn't know what to do with it, right? Because the restaurants were shut down and the cafeterias were shut down. So they call us, and we went and said, you know what, we'll take your excess because we have all these receiving agencies, the food pantries, the soup kitchens that actually can use what you give us. So our volumes of pickup really grew a lot during COVID, and that has actually helped us to understand and expand the geography more, and to understand the complete layout of, okay, who needs what, where can I get X or where can I get Y, and how can it be channeled. So in one way, COVID has really helped us. Uh, it's it's a very sad way to look at things, when you see the economy not doing well, but for us it has actually helped solve that excess of glut of inventory, channel it into proper use, so there's no wastage anywhere.
So when you mentioned that you have been able to expand like your geography of like where you get produce from, would you say that some the way your organization runs or nonprofit runs has changed in a way because now you have more inventory you take, so there'll be like even more work that'll have to go like for prepping and getting.
Yes. So, and this is the beauty about the nonprofit world, right? By its very nature, it's nonprofit. So there's not so we're not talking about domination of a marketplace, right? So it's collaboration, it's cooperation. So what we have done is, and COVID was a very wonderful the opportunity for us to expand or to look for partners, look for collaborations, look for like-minded organizations across the Bay Area. So when we talk about expanding geography, that's what we have done. So when we get calls from Santa Clara County, so we know which organizations to work with in Santa Clara County. Or when we get calls from Contra Costa County, we know organizations that are doing something similar, and they can pick it up quickly. Whereas, we are based in Alameda County, then we don't need to be driving everywhere. Okay. So we facilitate and help food recovery.
Wow, that sounds like that sounds really tedious, but I think that really seems to be making a good impact on the community, like Bay Area, because you're able to expand to like South and North Bay Area.
Yeah, it does. See, because the when we get calls from South County or from Santa Clara County, it means the people in Santa Clara County or the donors don't know the existence of some other companies, right, who can receive the food, right?
Mhm.
So we connect them with those agencies. So now what has happened? There is that small ecosystem built up within Santa Clara County itself. If there's an excess food, they know to call this company, right? And stuff, so we have opened the doors to move things around. So we have facilitated, we have connected all these small spokes and hubs. Yeah.
Oh, so in addition to yourself like bringing the food from one place to the other, now you're creating the networks so that
Yes.
like they can directly contact receiving agencies.
Yes. So and it also helps because if somebody from Alameda County don't know about us and they call the agency in Contra Costa County, the Contra Costa County agency will in turn refer them to us. So we can facilitate the. So it's all about connections here.
I see. That also makes me wonder about one more thing. Um,
Hmm.
since you were previously a businessman, why did you decide to create a nonprofit when technically you could have made a business?
The, that's actually a very good question. Okay, um, it's all about helping people in need. Okay, um, for profit, really, you're looking at the bottom line. The bottom line here is, can I make money out of this? And we weren't looking at making money. We were more looking at, can I help this company reduce their food waste? By the same token, can I help this agency feed their clients with this food? So, to us, it just became a gesture of goodwill and a a an act of um, it's just and that's why we became a non-profit. It's not a for-profit entity at all. So I do apologize for that slight lag because I couldn't get the right words to come in there. But it's the mission, the mission, the activity, everything screams collaboration, everything screams, everything beckons to help the community, the person in need. And when a person is in need, you do not and you should not look at how to make money out of a person in need, but instead you should look at how can you help that person. In effect, you are now a nonprofit mission right there.
Yep, I think that's a really important thing to. I think that goes for anything. Like, I think something which I try to go by is like when you learn skills, you learn them so you could contribute them back, to society in some form.
That's right.
I think that's definitely some really good advice. Um,
Thank you.
and speaking of that, this is my final question. What advice would you have for our viewers? Like, if they're interested on getting started on their volunteer journey, if they're able to contribute their time or effort towards something worthwhile, what would you say are the first steps in doing that?
Contribute. Contribute by volunteering. Uh, you want to volunteer. um, the typically and let me give you a very good example of human nature, right? um, it Let's say during the holidays or during Diwali or during Ramzan or anything like that, you suddenly wake up to the fact our religion says help the hungry. So there is this that 1 or 2 months of the year that you go out and you help because it's your festive season, like the holidays or Diwali and thing. But what you forget is there are 12 months to a year. So what are you doing for the remaining 10 months? You're not doing anything. And 10 months, there are people still in need, right? So volunteer whenever you can, not just because you have to. Okay. Volunteer whenever you can. Volunteer in any organization, whether it be a domestic violence or whether it just be peer counseling. Like you just go down to your local school and volunteer as a crossing guard. You're still doing that. And if you want to help in food and feeding and everything, spread the mission. Food waste, how can you solve it? Call us. We can tell you where you can volunteer for with agencies and stuff like that. But be involved in the community every day of your life in some way or the other. Okay. You never know, a random act of kindness or a random act of helping out is actually benefiting not just one person, but an entire network of people out there that you have done. Okay.
Thank you for that advice. That's something I will definitely keep in mind.
You're welcome.
Hope the viewers do too. I think that wraps up this webinar. I thank you for your time. I know you're really busy with operating a nonprofit, and I think this webinar was really good in getting to know how food distribution is still happening during COVID. And in fact, how it's even more now, and how like there are ways where we can contribute towards like that extra food which we like with the extra food we don't use.
Yeah.
So to the viewers, if you're interested in knowing more about Daily Bowl, or if you want to contribute, you could email us at community@rmc.org for if you want us to get you in touch with Mr. Iyer, or you could also visit dailybowl.org for more information on Daily Bowl.
And I wish to thank all viewers, and I wish to thank Aramse, and most importantly, I wish to thank Kritika for this wonderful afternoon. Um, for the viewers, Aramse has been, in one way or the other, we have been involved with Aramse for many years now, and they've been a great mentor organization. They've been a great support, and especially during COVID, they really stepped out and they offered to help even when we weren't expecting it, and that help has really, it really propelled us. It was a wonderful gesture of an offer of help. It helped us out. We bought some equipments just based on their help, and that really helped. The other thing is, go out, help the community wherever you can. And if you want to follow what we do, as Kritika mentioned, we are dailybowl.org, or we are on social media at dailybowluc, DAILYBOWLUC. Feel free to email me whenever you can. It's been a wonderful afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you.